Greetings to you, my friends. I am Adamu of the monadic entity of the Pleiadian civilization. Today I wish to address with you the somewhat burning topic that is called the event. This is how it is already known in your collective conscious, and therefore I will continue to speak about it as such. So what is the event? When will it happen? What will happen? What will happen afterwards? And how should you prepare for the event? These are the questions I wish to address in today's conversation. Now, there is so much to be said about it, and there's already so much misunderstanding, so much disinformation, so much that I'm going to try and speak succinctly and clearly without triggering your fears, because truly there is not much to fear. What is the event? In a nutshell, the event is the moment when your collective consensus reality, the timeline that all, nearly 8 billion of you, that all of you are currently creating together, splits. You can imagine a great rope of many strands, 8 billion strands in fact. This great rope becomes unbraided, and a number of smaller ropes get made with those strands. That would be a fair understanding. The moment of the unbraiding is the event. It's that which happens that allows you then to proceed on a smaller rope. So, when will the event happen? I've mentioned previously that it is desirable that the when is delayed, that it take as long as possible for the when to happen. And I wish to address that. Those of you who are of the lowest frequency of consciousness, those who are profoundly victim conscious, those who are of other responsible consciousness. And please, if you don't understand what I'm talking about here, we have spoken about this. Zingdad and I have produced 2 videos on the subject of the frequencies of consciousness and spoken about what other responsibility is versus self-responsibility versus unity consciousness. This has been addressed. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please pause here. Please go and have a look at those videos, those publications. Those of you who are of the lowest frequency, and typically low frequency beings would not be watching this video. You wouldn't be interested in it. It would make no sense to you. You wouldn't be resonant with it. The deeply other responsible are clinging to an idea that their life is wrong, the world is wrong, everything's wrong, and someone else must come and fix it. Those of you would be looking at the event as being the moment when everything gets fixed. Unfortunately, for the deeply other responsible, the deeply victim conscious, exactly the opposite is going to be their experience. It's going to be a moment when they really get what they are creating, where they are no longer in a rope with self-responsible beings who are making sure that the world keeps functioning. They are then only in a world with other victim conscious, with other responsible beings. And nobody is making sure the world keeps working. Nobody is continuing to keep the wheels of the world turning. Things fall apart in a disastrous way for those who are simply sharing an other responsible world with other responsibles. Now, it is nobody's desire. Those who inhabit the higher frequencies, the unity conscious, for example, don't wish to punish the victim conscious. There is an awareness that you are a victim consciousness because of circumstances and because you've been unable to see that you really need to transform your consciousness. So there isn't a desire to hurt or to punish the other responsible. And what we also notice is that there is a migration of consciousness. People are waking up. the light certainly is rising on planet Earth, particularly now that the structures of control, those that we have called the Illuminati, those that are operating from behind the scenes, particularly as their grip on the world, as their ability to pull the strings of power begins to fade and wane, particularly as they begin to be in conflict with each other, as their power structures begin to collapse. Consciousness is rising at an accelerated rate. So the victim conscious are slowly becoming creator conscious, slowly becoming unity conscious. This is happening. Other responsibles are becoming self-responsible, are becoming unity conscious. So the longer we delay the event, the more souls will move from an experience of the event, which will be shocking and painful, to one which will be acceptable, to one which will be truly joyful. And so it really is desirable to delay the event. So the when is not cast in stone, but the longer it takes, the better. If you are of a mind that you say, well, too bad for them. If they're creating something horrible, they must get what is horrible. I want my good outcome. I want my happy outcome, and I want it right now. Well, the bad news is, if that is your attitude, you're actually creating from a place of duality. You're creating victimization. Your consciousness is probably lower than you think it is. And you probably need to be working on yourself, on your connection to the divine, and on your relationship to the other. But more about that in a moment. The subject of what will happen is also not cast in stone. It's also not concretized. What will happen is still to be created. And who creates it? You do. The higher your frequency of consciousness, the more powerfully you create. So the deeply victim conscious are creating less powerfully, and that's a good thing, than the self-responsible, and the self-responsible are creating less powerfully than the unity conscious. That is as it should be. Because the unity conscious amongst you are those who truly create from a place of deep compassion, deep loving care for everybody. Amongst the unity conscious, you will not find the "I'm okay, Jack, tough for you" kind of an attitude that you certainly will amongst the more victim conscious. So what will happen is not cast in stone. But there's a range of possibility. The most deeply victim conscious will need an experience that will allow them to let everybody else go from their consensus. Now, this is what I'm saying. The event is a moment when the consensus breaks down, when you are willing to let everybody else go. So you need an experience where things that currently function in the world, media, the internet, electronic communications, for a moment breaks down, for a moment is paused, so that you don't know what's going on beyond your own eyesight, beyond your own earshot. You don't know what's going on. Then you let the rest of the world go, and you focus on your own experience. Well, the event is very much about that. Letting the rest of the world go and focusing on your own experience, creating what you're creating and getting what you're creating. If you are creating with great anger, with a lot of hatred, with a lot of fear, with a lot of rage, if these are the sponsors of your creation, then you might find yourself having the kind of cataclysmic, apocalyptic experience of the event that some fear it will be. If that is what you're creating, then that is what you might very well get. That is one way of letting the rest of the world go. Great, disastrous experiences, World War III and comets crashing to the earth and disease and mayhem. That's one way of letting the world go. And then what happens afterwards? Well, the consequences of that, a world that's broken, where you try and pick up the pieces, that's one possibility. That's the low frequency possibility. The high frequency possibility is very different. Those of you who are of unity consciousness, those of you who can find the light of the divine within yourselves, and then also begin to see the light of the divine in others, other human beings. Those of you might also be willing to start to see the light of the divine in animals, in plants, in the planet. Those of you will be ready for perhaps a very joyful experience where perhaps the light ships that are currently holding quarantine around your planet can begin to appear in your consciousness. They can re-resonate to your frequency, or you re-resonate to theirs. And you can see this grid of light ships around the planet. And this grid can, by virtue of its re-resonating to your frequency, will cause your electronic communications and your electrical items to cease functioning temporarily for a short while, so that you can really let go of the rest of the world. And those ships can begin to drop to the earth like stars falling to the ground. They can drop. And beings can emerge from those ships, some of them looking quite like you. We Pleiadians look somewhat like humans, or they can look very different from you. There are members of other civilizations who are a part of the Galactic Federation that look very different from you. But because you are of unity consciousness, you can look with your heart and see the light of the divine in that which steps forth from the ship. And you can engage. We can connect with you telepathically. You can engage personally and be reassured that all is well, that all is proceeding as it should, and a new world opens to you where your planetary civilization is now a part of a greater galactic civilization. That would certainly be quite a joyful future. There are other possibilities between these two extremes which you might be creating for yourself. So what will happen and what will happen afterwards is not cast in stone. It is created by you in concert with what is called the Planetary Council. The Planetary Council is a group of very high frequency beings. Those who you might call archangels are at the core of your Planetary Council, and other high frequency beings are there to assist the planet, to guide the planet, to make sure that even if you create from a place of very low frequency, that you are protected. There's a veto right that the Planetary Council has. But you are the creators. You will decide what will happen, what the event will be for you, and what will happen afterwards will flow forth from that. And that brings me to the final point. What should we be doing to prepare? Really, the most important thing you can do to prepare is to raise your frequency, to become conscious of where you are clinging on to victim consciousness, to become conscious of where you are creating other responsibly, to look into your own psyche, to look into your journey, to look into your past lives, to look into the places in your childhood where hurts happened, where you came to beliefs that you're clinging on to that don't serve you, to look at your hurts and to heal those hurts. That's perhaps the most important thing you can do. Heal yourself. Heal your relationship with the divine within yourself. Heal the relationship between the divine being that you truly are and this ego shell, this personality that you're pretending to be, that you're inhabiting for the duration of this lifetime. Heal these. Come to wholeness. Move your frequency of consciousness upwards, that you might create more powerfully, that you might create more of what you really want, less of what you don't want. And then in due course too, we will be speaking again about light circles. This time we have the freedom to speak really candidly, speak really truthfully. We don't have to protect the truth from being abused by powers that are now no longer really running your world. We don't have to do that anymore. And since we can now speak candidly and truthfully about light circles, we can make it apparent that what light circles really are the seeds that you can plant for the timelines that you wish to really be on, the event that you wish to experience and the future timelines that you wish to experience. But there now is no longer such pressing urgency to do so. We now have time because the event is now delayed and, well, the circumstances previous, which caused us to have some urgency around getting those timeline seeds planted when Zingdad visited the United States of America. Those events are now behind us. We can take the time. So my takeaway message really is, please don't be of fear. There is no need to panic. Heal yourself, work on yourself, raise your consciousness, live the life you wish to live. There is time. The event is being delayed. Work towards creating the event that you wish to create for yourself. Work towards being the being that you wish to be. And that really is what I wish to say today. There will, of course, be more. And I really strongly invite you, please don't view this video in isolation or reading the transcript, whatever it is that you're doing. Please go and have a look at the rest of the material that I have shared with Zingdad. Please go and have a look at the materials that Zingdad has released with his other friends, with his other partners, his own spirit guide, his own divine self. The Ascension Papers is a marvelous book which you can use to really understand yourself and your circumstances. All of this is available and gifted to you to assist you on your journey. And please do look to healing your own soul. That is the time that is available now for these things. With that, I wish to say goodbye. I wish to express to you great love, great appreciation, great respect for where you are on your journey. Those of you that are star seeds, that are light bringers, which is most of our audience, you are doing magnificent work. Continue to work upon yourself. I love you with the heart of oneness. I am Adamu, of the monadic entity of the Pleiadian civilization. Until next time, I greet you.